Hi everyone, it's Victor again and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm doing something a little bit different today, a voiceover tour of the outside of the United States Capitol. This is a video that I've been wanting to do for a long time and have only recently been able to do it because the fencing around the Capitol has finally been taken down. So it's going to be a 30-minute video and I'm going to try and describe a little bit of what's going on within the Capitol complex for anyone who is visiting or in the future if you're coming to advocate to Congress. And I'll also make sure to add chapters so you can skip to the portions of the tour that you're interested in. If you like this, please let me know in the comments below, but also feel free to hit that like button and also give me a subscribe so I can put out more of this content. And without further ado, let's start the tour at the top of the escalators. So just for some background, I started filming in Capitol South Station. It is the most popular station for people who are looking to tour the United States Capitol complex. Once you exit, you can see the Republican National Committee in this white building in front of you. And I thought that that'd just be really nice to show you all because that is where a lot of the Republican Party operations happen. And if you are a person who supports the Republican Party, you might see some of your famous members of Congress, senators, walk out of the Capitol Hill Club, which is a hotel attached to the Republican National Committee. Coming up is one of the maps that is put around the Capitol complex, and these are super duper helpful. I'll just start by saying we're here by Capitol South Metro. We're going to walk up towards the Library of Congress Jefferson, past the Supreme Court, to the Senate side of the Capitol, then the House side, and then we'll end our tour just outside of the Capitol. So that way you all have a little bit of a background of where I'll be taking you. And as we go on the tour, you'll see these directories everywhere with a map included. And so feel free to just go up to it if you are ever lost in the Capitol complex. As you can see, there are different symbols and it is really, really accurate. You'll notice that as we walk up the street, the building right to our left right here is the Cannon House office building, and there's a lot of scaffolding on it. It's currently going through a 10-year restoration plan at the tune of over $1 billion. And in front of us to the right is the Library of Congress Madison building, and this is a Library of Congress auxiliary building. A lot of times congressional staff will get lunch there, and it just houses a lot of rare books and other administrative offices for the Library of Congress. So with the 10-year restoration plan that Cannon is going through, parts of the building will be shut down and parts of the streets will be blocked off. And so just be mindful that as you navigate the Capitol complex, things may be different based on when you watch this video. Assuming it's in the future, a new wing of Cannon might be being restored. This is because this is the oldest congressional office building in the Capitol complex, and they found a lot of issues, including lead piping and other structural issues, and so this is why Congress appropriated funding to get this building repaired. Coming up, you can see some of our lovely Capitol police officers. They wear these blue uniforms with patches on the side. Sometimes they will wear uniforms where they glow and they will say U.S. Capitol Police. So I always make sure to say hi to our Capitol police officers. They have been going through a lot in the year 2021 after the Capitol riots and the subsequent actions of an individual that resulted in a couple of deaths to Capitol police officers. So coming up, you can see this is Independence Avenue in front of us, and you can already see the dome of the United States Capitol. To your left, you can now see the side of Cannon that faces the United States Capitol building. And you can also see Independence Avenue, the main street that runs on the U.S. House of Representatives side. If you continue to follow the street, you will eventually find yourself on Pennsylvania Avenue Southeast, which is not to be confused with Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest. In DC, the quadrants are extremely important. If you get them wrong, you could be in trouble. I tell you that because I had a friend who lived in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue Southeast, and she got a lot of mail that was supposed to be going to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest, which is the White House. So you miss those quadrants, and you might not find yourself in front of the White House, but somewhere else. So just another quick glance at Cannon. It's a beautiful building, and if you ever have the luxury of being able to go to the roof or to one of the side offices, you will get a gorgeous view of the United States Capitol. Right now it is summer, so the trees are in full bloom, and so it is hard to see that beautiful dome. But rest assured, once we cross Independence Avenue, I will show it to you. Another trick about Independence Avenue, notice that there are 4 lanes. I don't know what it's going to be like after COVID, but before COVID, 3 of the lanes during rush hour would be dedicated to one way of traffic. So a lot of times you will get people that were confused. So their SUV just departed. That is a congressional staffer, one that I actually know who works with the minority leader, Kevin McCarthy. And so he's just leaving work. Please be aware when you're walking around the Capitol complex, there are staffers and people that are driving through those barricades. And so at one point, you might not see a car, but if you don't pay attention, all of a sudden there'll be one right in front of you. We are now approaching the Library of Congress Jefferson building. This is the most famous building that the Library of Congress owns, and it features its main reading room, which you've probably seen a picture of. If you haven't, I will put a picture here so you can see, and you've probably seen it. The Library of Congress is the biggest library in the world. Its collections are universal, and it has works from over 450 languages. It's also the oldest federal cultural institution within the United States. You can tour the Library of Congress when it's open, but unfortunately due to the coronavirus, it has not been open to the public. When you are in the Library of Congress, you can see the main reading room. There is an observation balcony, but to be on the floor of the reading room, you will need to be a congressional staffer or a member of the Library of Congress. There are ways for you to gain membership, and I hear that it's not too hard, but I've never done the process myself because I was a former congressional staffer, so I would just get onto the floor of the Library of Congress using my congressional badge. So for folks who are touring Washington, D.C. and want to see the Library of Congress, I think that seeing it from the balcony is sufficient. But if you really want the full depth tour, then you can try and ask your member of Congress to have a staffer bring you to show you the main reading room. We are now walking down First Street Southeast, and for those of you who are taking a U.S. Capitol tour, this is the exact path that you should walk to get to the Capitol Visitor Center, also known as the CVC. If you're interested in Capitol tours, I have a video that I will link up above. Please feel free to check it out. It will give you all the details on how to get the best U.S. Capitol tour when you're in Washington, D.C. So with that in mind, if you do have tickets or you have booked a tour of a congressional office and they have asked to meet you in the Capitol Visitor Center, this is it right here. You can see that the fencing is still up, saying that the area is closed because tours are not available yet. But one of the cool things that you are able to see, as long as there's no fencing, is the Capitol Plaza. And that gives you a beautiful view of the east front of the United States Capitol. Keep in mind, this area is sometimes restricted based on what is going on. If there is a foreign dignitary visiting, or if the vice president is visiting, then they will shut this down. And what they'll usually do is they'll put a fence up, and then you will know that you can't access it. Take a moment just to admire the United States Capitol. At the top, you can see a statue that is called the Statue of Freedom, and it stands at roughly 19 feet and 6 inches tall and weighs approximately 15,000 pounds. There is a replica of this statue in the Capitol Visitor Center. It is a plaster replica, and it is really, really tall when you're actually there in person, being able to stand by it. And so once tours open up, it will be really exciting for folks to be able to see that statue up front. One of the cool features of the Capitol Visitor Center is that it's completely underground. It cost almost $1 billion for the United States government to construct, but it was extremely useful in helping to ensure that more people had access to the U.S. Capitol they could tour. We're now standing right on the Capitol Plaza, and I'm going to pan a little bit so you guys can see just how big it is. While you're up here, please keep in mind that staffers and members of Congress are still driving, and so keep your eyes out. Just because this space is restricted to most cars doesn't mean that there aren't cars here. Fun fact, there is no speed limit here either, so you might see cars driving really quickly as members of Congress try and get to their meetings or get to their votes. So make sure that you pay attention. You don't want to get hit. I'm now walking towards the U.S. House of Representatives side. That is to the left side of this video. And gonna walk right up to the steps. You can get really, really close to the actual Capitol building. It's one of the reasons why a lot of people were criticizing Capitol Police, because they felt that they were not protecting the Capitol adequately and that you could just get too close to the Capitol. But you can walk right up to where those police officers are standing. You can see that there's some families there, and they are already using my trick that I'm going to teach you all on how to get the best shot of the U.S. Capitol, which is on the side of the stairs, right here. As you can see, if you stand a little bit on the steps and you point your camera upwards like this, you can get a really nice shot of the U.S. Capitol. These steps are a lot of times used by members of Congress when they are going to and from votes. Staffers will drop their boss off at these steps, and they will simply walk up and go through the doors to enter the House chamber. As I pan right, you can see the Supreme Court in the distance, the Library of Congress building, and you can just see how big this plaza is. I encourage folks, especially if they're interested in learning more about congressional process and procedure, to try and find a day when members of Congress are voting. They typically vote in the afternoon, and you can ask a Capitol Visitor Center guide when they do so. You can then stand right at these steps and watch famous members of Congress walk up to vote, and you can see the stressed faces of their staff as they navigate the tourists to try and drop them off. We are now walking towards the Senate side of the U.S. Capitol. As you can see, you can proceed right on the sidewalk. Just make sure that you don't step on the grass or behind any Capitol Police officer that is guarding the U.S. Capitol. You don't want to get in trouble with the law. As we walk, you can see that we are getting closer to some steps. These are the steps that are right under the Capitol Rotunda, where that big, beautiful dome is. I will also pan right so that you can see the rest of the Capitol Plaza. You can also see some skylights, and those skylights bring some beautiful light into the Capitol Visitor Center. These steps are important and are used oftentimes when famous people are laying in state or laying in honor in the Capitol Rotunda. Their casket will be brought up these steps. These are also the steps that the incoming president will walk up to when they are about to get inaugurated, and that the departing president will walk down. This was done pretty much every year, except for most recently when Donald Trump left office. I'm also going to zoom out so that you can just see the dome and you can see the American flag that's flying over it. One cool feature of the east facade of the Capitol is that you can tell if the House or Senate is meeting by the lights. The light to the left symbolizes the U.S. House of Representatives, and when that light is on, that means the House is in session. They're meeting in D.C. When the light to the right is on, then the Senate is in session. They're meeting in Washington, D.C. So that's how you can tell. Right now, neither of those lights are on, so neither the House or the Senate are meeting in the United States Capitol. I'm also going to back up just a little bit so you can get a better view of the Capitol. It is absolutely gorgeous. Right now, I am filming towards the end of the day, so unfortunately, the sun is in our eyes, but the best time to come is usually in the morning when the sun is shining right on that beautiful dome. Again, when you're doing this, make sure that you're looking both ways. Right now, I am checking to make sure there are no cars coming because I don't want to get hit by a speeding car on the Capitol Plaza. So for folks who want a picture of the U.S. Capitol, this is the best place to snap it. As you can see, there are already some tourists who have brought their own selfie device onto the Capitol Plaza to snap a photo of themselves. We will now walk towards the Supreme Court. And I'm just going to take this moment to fast forward this video because let's be real, you're not watching this YouTube video so that I can slowly make my way to the Supreme Court building. So I'll do you all a favor so that we'll just get there as quickly as possible. So the Supreme Court building is really interesting. It's the first permanent home to the Supreme Court, and it was completed in 1935. Prior to the Supreme Court moving into it, it was just finding space in the U.S. Capitol. The members of Congress had built a space for the Supreme Court in the basement of the Capitol, one that you can still see on your Capitol tour, called the Old Supreme Court Chamber. It's absolutely hideous. It's dark. No one really wanted to be there. It was not fit for the court. So when the United States was expanding in the mid-1800s, what essentially happened was Congress had built new chambers for themselves. And so the Supreme Court then went up to one of the old Senate chambers to do their business there. They realized that they needed their own building, and so after talking with some senators and members of Congress, finally they were allowed to build their own across the street, which we see now. So this building is really magnificent. There are actually no restrictions for you to go right up to it. I don't do it because I am under some time constraints doing this tour, but you see people are already walking up the steps and you can go all the way up to those columns. Sometimes during special events, they will shut down that little plaza in front of the Supreme Court, such as for Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's funeral, they had shut down that space. You can also go in and see oral arguments when the Supreme Court is in session. Right now during COVID, I don't know what the situation for those are, but it is a possibility. So if you plan ahead and you can see that there are oral arguments that are occurring, you can simply just walk into the Supreme Court, get in line, and you usually be allowed to sit in the chamber for about 10 minutes as you hear the court deliberate some case. So we're just going to keep on walking here, and we are now on the Senate side of the United States Capitol. So I am so sorry. I didn't realize that all these trees were going to be in full bloom during the summer, and it obscures our view of the Senate office buildings. So what I'll do is I'll just talk a little bit about the Senate office buildings and put up pictures so that you could recognize them when you come and visit Washington, D.C. So to the right of this building is the Hart Senate office building. It is the most modern and biggest building, so it contains the offices to the senators that represent the biggest states, such as New York, Texas, California. It also has a big sculpture called Clouds and Mountains, and so I'll put a picture of that up here too. As you can see, the Capitol complex is public ground, so a lot of times folks will play baseball or football and they'll have their picnics here. So please feel free to do that. Locals do it all the time. You are welcome to do so. So the second building is the Dirksen building. It was named after a senator called Dirksen, and it also contains offices. It is to the right of this video as well, but you can't really see it, so I do apologize. But if you are walking the Capitol complex and you want to see Russell and Dirksen, just follow this path right here. It will take you right to the front of both buildings. So it's just some helpful information for folks who are coming to the Capitol complex to do some legislative advocacy. So the building that is in front of us right now is the Russell Senate Office Building. And this is the oldest Senate office building, and it's actually a carbon copy of the Kennan House office building, the one that's going through the 10-year restoration program. The reason why is because senators wanted a congressional office building themselves, and so they simply just took the blueprints for the House office building and used them on the Senate side. One of the things you'll see too is that there are a lot of scooters around DC. So these scooters are actually not allowed on Capitol grounds, but for some reason someone had parked them here. So one of the great ways to get around the Capitol complex is to rent scooters and bikes. It's an easy way to get around, and it does not require a lot of energy. It doesn't cost too much either. You also see a GPO van pull out, GPO's government publishing office. And so they print out all of the official correspondence that the government uses. So sometimes they're always on Capitol Hill dropping things off. Just panning left so you can see this is the Senate wing of the Capitol. And we're going to walk down this path right over here that takes us right down to the west front of the Capitol, which offers a spectacular view of the Washington Mall. And I'm just going to fast forward here as I walk down this hill. To the right, you can see this is the Upper Senate Park. And so a lot of times there'll be different protests that happen here. There's also a really beautiful fountain that you can check out. And as I pan to the left, you will see the United States Capitol. And this is the Senate side, as I mentioned before. And so it's just really, really beautiful and a great view from the side. I apologize again that the trees are kind of blocking the way. You'll see a lot of times people will be running up this hill. It is great exercise, but if you do need ADA accommodations, when the Capitol Visitor Center opens, you can request that they bring you up using a golf cart. I have seen it happen. So that way you don't have to walk too much if you require some accommodations and you are able to make this walk. Again, a really beautiful view of the Senate side. And you can also kind of see the west front of the Capitol. I'm also going to turn and go to show you all the Summerhouse. So the Summerhouse was created in the late 1800s, and it was created to help visitors to the Capitol complex cool down. And so you can see this is just a nice place where you can dip your hands into the cool water, as I'm doing now, and also sit down. So we're going to continue along our walk now, and we're just going to walk to the west front. And as we come down here, you will start to see a really great view of the Washington Mall. You also see a really spectacular view of the U.S. Capitol. And this is a great place where you can take a picture as well. And just be aware that a lot of times this area can become restricted depending on what is going on. So after the Capitol riots, this entire area was shut down for a long time. And in fact, I am realizing now that it still is shut down. There are still barricades at the front of the Capitol complex. So I'm just going to cut across this field right here. And that way I can get to the west front without having to be stopped by police. And I feel comfortable doing that because I see some other folks have already done so. And that's generally a good strategy when you're walking around the Capitol complex. Just see what other people are doing, because if they're doing something that's not allowed, they're going to get yelled at by police officers. So just hopping over this right here. So hope I landed correctly, and I did. So you can see just a beautiful view. And this is where the inauguration every year happens. What they'll do is they'll create platforms where those stairs are. And so members of Congress and other high-level government officials will sit up there, and the general public will sit right down here where the grassy area is. And generally, they close this entire area off. So in order to be here, you must have a ticket. As I continue walking, you can see Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest in front of me. So this is the road that leads to the White House, and this is also the road that's traveled by the President of the United States after he is inaugurated, and so they do their parade down that road to the White House. I'm also going to walk up these steps right here, so this will just get me over the wall. And sometimes these steps exist just to help you navigate the Capitol complex. And that way I hit this really grassy area from the east front, and I get that beautiful view of the United States Capitol. So a couple of really cool things that you can see in front of the Capitol. And the first thing is the speaker's balcony, and I will just zoom in a little bit so you can see it. So the speaker's balcony is part of the speaker's office, and it's only accessible to congressional staff. It offers a really beautiful view of the Washington Mall, and it's so spectacular that you can see all the way to Virginia. Now, you can get a little bit of that view if you just turn around right here, and you can already kind of see all the way to the Washington Monument. And so don't feel disappointed if you can't access it, because you get just as good as a view right over here. Feel free to sit down in front of the east front of the Capitol and just admire the beauty of this magnificent building. You can see the full extent of the Capitol here, from the Senate side to the left, all the way to the House side on the right, which is being obscured by the trees. The east front of the Capitol is also the location to an annual 4th of July concert. And during the 4th of July, if you are able to get tickets to come to the concert, right afterwards, you're going to be able to see a spectacular fireworks performance right behind me from the National Mall. So I'm just going to jump over this wall right here, and I'm also going to start fast forwarding again, because I'm going to walk up the hill on the house side, and that will take a little bit of time. While I'm doing so, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the scenery around me. So as I proceed and make this left turn, I'm going to just pan towards the United States Capitol. And I apologize that the video is a little bit shaky, and that's because I am speeding this up because I'm walking up the hill. Also in front of me is the U.S. Botanical Garden. So it offers different plants from around the world, and they are able to view to the general public. So if you have an opportunity to check it out, you definitely should. It's maintained by the architect of the Capitol, which also maintains all of the buildings in the Capitol complex. Coming up is the Rayburn House Office Building. This is the biggest House office building. So many members of Congress have their offices here. You may tour it. It also offers really great views of the Capitol, especially from the Rayburn foyer, which is a great space where a lot of receptions and banquets happen. Again, another shot of the United States Capitol, and just walking up the hill now. So at this point in the video, there's not really much else for me to show you other than the different House office buildings. So other than Rayburn, the next one is Longworth. It is a House office building that was built after Cannon was, and it also just features offices for some of the members of Congress. Now you can also see the House side of the Capitol, and that is actually right where the House chamber is. Longworth is right there, as I just mentioned. And then Cannon, the building that we walked by, and it's going through the 10-year restoration program, is right ahead of us. So as we get to the top of the hill, just be very, very careful again when you are navigating the Capitol complex, because there are barricades, and although they are up, at any point they can go down and let a car come through. Another shot of the United States Capitol. This is one we've already seen before, but I thought it'd just be nice for you to see it from afar. So one last Easter egg before I let you all go, but this is what we call the House Triangle. A lot of times there will be different press conferences held here by members of the U.S. House of Representatives, and so they will stand at that podium that I just walked by. And a lot of times media outlets will have their camera set up here. They actually have plugs for any data that they're transmitting to the stations already included in there. So it's been completely optimized for press conferences. And you can see that view that basically those press conferences will have. And so that's it, folks. I really do thank you for watching this video. It's definitely a longer one. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe to my channel for more of my content. I am looking to maybe do another video, maybe this time less in depth, where I just walk around the Capitol complex. And I'm also thinking about doing videos of other places in Washington, D.C. So if you think that this is a great video, just please let me know in the comments below, and also open to taking any suggestions for future tour videos. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. Until the next time.